Hello, welcome to Subnet Talk. Today we have Gabriella, Chihan, Stanley as a speaker, and she's also known as Gabs. She's the CEO and founder of Frisch, which is an applied immersive entertainment studio based in Vienna. And she will talk today about her approach to creative AI and also discuss with us meaningful AI-powered immersive experiences. Please.
It's like we're told that tech is fast, cheap, and magic, no? That the stories write themselves, that AI does the heavy lifting. But let's talk about what it really takes to build something that touches people, right? To give a counter narrative to, I did this in 15 minutes alone, and with the help of nobody, and it's a masterpiece, you know? I mean, this is what's weighing in my heart, and this is what I would like to discuss with all of you today. What is your perspective on this? If we can achieve something like this in creative AI or not, or maybe not yet, maybe in the future we will be able to do so, and if yes, what are the implications uh, of working with this technology for this purpose? What would it mean for human creativity in the end, or what would it mean for how we see reality? So, a bit about me. I have been in the world of immersive technologies since 2013. I have my own company I founded my company in Vienna together with my partner in 2015. So we kind of saw the evolution of immersive technologies. Like back in the day, it was like the revival of VR. That was like, oh, okay, no, VR is exactly the same thing that is happening now with creative AI. Was happening in 2015 with VR. I don't know if any of you remember this. It was like, no, this is going to replace our reality. This is going to make us live in oasis, no, like in the book, is going to, it is very dystopic, right? So many years have passed. We we learned that it's not like this, right? But now we have AI, right? I mean, no, and now again the whole story, like AI is going to take our jobs. We're going to not know who is what and what is what, and so I find these similarities very interesting in my line of work, because I have been working in the field of technology, creativity, and human experience on a daily basis. No? So I incorporated AI quite early in my work through machine learning, through the interactive installations that I've been doing. But my strength right now is in behavioral systems design. This is what I do personally. That is, I use AI for character development. So when I say character development, it's not like, okay, AI, I need to create the personality of an owl. Do your magic. Boom, button. No. I mean, there's so much to it. And not only so much to it when it comes to authenticity of the characters, and also kind of conveying the message that we want to transmit. But it's also about like how to use technology ethically and mindfully, not only for our audience, but for ourselves, and most importantly, a planet. And again, I will repeat this throughout the whole thing. Like, for me at least, this doesn't happen in 15 minutes with one person. No? So, as I said, like, I mean, I will skip this, because if you want to know more about what I do, it's too long. But my background is in digital arts, actually. Like, this is where I come from. My partner comes from filmmaking, and we both had very nerdy parents that since we can remember, we were brought to electronic shops, and we were learning about cables and connections and pieces of electronic stuff that, it was like magic. Like, we shared this in common. So we decided to kind of put everything together, and also we fell in love, so we share everything. And yeah, this is how Frisch was born. So, for the sake of time, there are three myths versus reality that I have very present through my work on a daily basis. That maybe it's a reality, maybe it's not. That's why I say, like, myth versus my reality, and I'm very interested if you also see it as your reality. And this is what I would like to kind of discuss with all of you later. You know? So one is that when I say commercial, when I say XR, please also include AI in it, because I mean for me it's no distinction because they're tools, right? I mean like what I do is applied immersive entertainment. Like AI and XR are my tools to achieve my purpose, which is applied immersive entertainment. So I never refer to my work like I do AI or I do XR, because these are just tools, the same way that if we build a house, where our mission is to build a house, not to glorify the hammer, right? So when and this is a myth that I hear a lot, because I work a lot with commercial projects. Like, of course, my art is hard. It's always suffering when I say this, you know, at least it got better with time. But this is pretty much how I felt for many years, no, doing what I do. No, that is like, okay, I'm selling my soul for these projects. No, like I'm using technology to sell my soul and to sell products that maybe people need, maybe people don't. So what is the good in there in facilitating someone buying something? But then I kind of realized that this limitation was just made by me, really. Like it was just like just repeating the speech that I've been hearing for a long time from others. But why not changing this narrative, right? I mean, like I want to bring change into the world, and if a marketing project has more reach than many of the other projects that I had the chance of like more artistic projects that I had the opportunity to collaborate, why not incorporating this change that I want to see in the world through these projects, as a higher purpose, let's say, of these experiences. So I would like to show you some of these examples if we still have time. Like, please check the time with me, because otherwise I will talk to you for like 3 days. I love sharing what I do, so please let me know. So So I will show you another example of a project that I was working on that has to do with this myth. And there. So these are two projects that I was working for Europe's biggest lighting house that is in Pil, Tirol. Like I didn't know about this. Like they were building the biggest lighting house of Europe. That actually they wanted to transform it into an experience world. No, they didn't want people to just go shopping for lamps, and they wanted something more special that people associate like what they do more meaningfully. No? So at the beginning, I think it was very difficult for them to understand what that meant. No, I mean, like what does it mean to like create this emotional connection with your audience? Because they were going a bit back and forth, right? I mean, like, no, but our mission is to sell lamps, no? And then they were saying, no, we want to create an emotional connection with our audience. So, okay, why not doing both? You know, I mean, like, how can you not, let's say, trick people into buying your products, you know, but kind of genuinely offer something that changes or improves the lives of your customers, no? And this is not a product question, this is a human question. And this is kind of like the part of the challenge that I was so interested in kind of finding a way to solve, right? So in the first example, like imagine when you go buy something with your partner, no? I mean, like by default, I guess it's not always a pleasant experience because like you don't agree in what you want to buy sometimes, you don't agree in the budget that you want to spend and so on and so forth. So it's by default like usually a moment of tension, no? That you are there kind of like expecting something to happen and like it's a bit this tension moment that can it be avoided, can it not, no? So this is why like we thought, okay, why not making a reminder, you know, of you're a kick-ass team, you know, like when you agree and when you work together, you know, you love each other, you know, like you are together for a reason, you know? So maybe the secret is in communication and trust, you know, and not in who's right and who's not, you know? So we kind of build this experience. I will explain how it works. That is, one person goes inside a physical labyrinth with a VR headset and sees a part of the experience that the one outside with the touch screen has the other piece of the puzzle. So in order to succeed in the mission, they have to work together and communicate with one another through voice. No? They both see something different, but they only have the voice as communication through the experience. So in this way, communication was necessary and communication was the key to success. The same way that if they wanted to kind of overcome this moment of tension, they needed to trust each other and collaborate. And the end, I'm going to spoil it for you because the end is quite, like for me up to this day, is quite touching, no? Because a person in VR was, like for the end, let's say you see the door here, the exit door, you're in space, of course, no? Then you see an abyss and you're standing here and the exit of the spaceship. And your partner is telling you, I see it here in the map that the exit is right in front of you. You know? No, but in front of me there's an abyss, you know, like I can't go. It's like, no, trust me, you know? And then you get prompted by the experience itself to tell, like say these words to your partner, you know? Like now I know that it's very difficult for you to do this, but trust me and walk, you know? So then you start walking and when you get to the door, the VR is cut and you are facing your partner, like you're standing right in front of your partner, you know? So it's a very powerful reminder that you are face to face with the person you love and you have to make this leap of faith, this leap of trust, you know? And we could see it right there live, no? Like how this small spark, this small invitation to remind people why they are with the person they love, you know, it's changing their mindset, changing their, like we saw people hugging each other, we made it easy enough for people not to fight as well, you know, because it was complicated and then we created the fight, it was like twice the problem. But this, we thought, okay, we are kind of like doing something that transcends the product, right? Because at any moment, like what you see here, at any moment we mention anything, any product we mention, and like, hey, you know, like you have here the cool experience from such and such and such. I mean, it's not a marketing experience, it's a human experience, no? And what we saw is that like people were going back to the shop just because they anchor this moment, you know, to something very special to them, you know? Even if they didn't buy anything, you know, this became like a physical landmark, a reminder of their relationship. You know, I hope I'm explaining myself because sometimes I go, like it makes sense in my head, but then when it comes out of my mouth, it's like whatever, you know. So if someone wants more details about this, I can gladly let you know. And the other experience is actually an interactive LED wall that helps children overcome their fear of darkness. And this is something that, okay, it's a light shop. Why not making something that actually does something good for, you know, for a change? So it's actually gradually exposing kids to their fear in a funny way to help them overcome their fear of darkness. So what it does is it uses AI to kind of recognize the position of the kids. It doesn't recognize any personal features. It doesn't recognize any personal traits, but it recognizes that there's a person there. Yeah? So with that, it makes the kids become lamps that are emitting light, and they see themselves as this like Pixar lamp, you know, that they're moving around in the screen, and they are making a sequence of colors on the floor. And when they get it right, they shoot beams of light to the darkness, and then they kill the zombies. You know? I mean, there's more story than that. I mean, like, I don't have too much time to explain longer, but we used my daughter as a test subject because she was in an age that she was very afraid of the dark. So we kind of found a way to help her overcome the fear of darkness through this project. Like, she wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. And funny thing that happened is that when she saw this little lamp that was projected on the LED wall, like, she saw it in the shop, like, we didn't know that it was there, no? And she was like, hey, that's me, you know? So it was like how do you call it? Like a physical object that empowered her of this moment that she overcame the fear of darkness, you know? So why not using like the reach of marketing to kind of give these messages, right? I mean, like, why not using this reach, in my view? So that's why I want to say, like, meaning can be designed into any moment, right? I mean, we can give meaning. It's our choice to give meaning, no? I mean, whether or not we can negotiate it with our commissioner is a different story, you know? But I think there are ways we can talk about it afterwards. But yeah, I always get so pressured with the time. That's why, like, if I don't make sense in some parts, it's because I'm trying to rush it, you know. But so yeah, here I wanted to share a bit the process. I can like share the presentation with you if you want later on. But this is a bit like the whole process, like the whole thing. It was 6 interactive installations in total, because we were building the storytelling of the experience world, no? And each of the stations, let's say, they were talking about a different aspect of light. For example, the evolution of light. What does it mean, light? Like, what does it mean for humanity? What does it mean when we use light to empower ourselves? What does it mean when we use light to create? What does it mean when we, and so on and so forth. No? So it was quite an interesting project that wasn't done in 15 minutes. Again, going back to the 15 minutes. I mean, it was two years of production for all these experiences. And a big team like a very multidisciplinary team from interior designers to architects to creative technologists, electrical engineers, filmmakers. So it was quite a rich project, let's say. In what you see, like the end result, let's say, you don't see how much work and people and expertise there was behind it. You know, like when you see it, like when you see something so simple that works, let's say, it's like kind of assume that it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's there, right? But when I think of everything that took to get there, no, it's incredible. Like, I'm very grateful for this experience, you know? So the bit number 2, no, real connection only comes from direct experience. No, this is also something that made me think, because like one of the projects that I worked in is for the Vilnius Gebiet Durenstein. I don't know if you know this place. It's the last remaining primeval forest of Central Europe that is here in Austria in Lund am See. And it's a very small patch of forest, and it's like people are not allowed to go there. Like, you can't, it doesn't have any human intervention. It's forbidden to go. I mean, it's closed except for a certain amount of biologists that have to apply for years in order to get there. So nevertheless, as humans, we need to protect this piece of forest, right? But how can we encourage people to protect a piece of forest that will never set foot in their lives? And this was the challenge that was brought to us. You know? So Did I pass it? Oh, there. I thought that I was there, but it was. So this is the House of the Wilderness, actually, a visitor center of the Williams gebiet Durenstein that was built to represent the one of the last primeval forests of Central Europe, and a place that visitors can physically enter to understand, like, what is there, you know? Like, why does it make it so special, and what is the difference between any other forest that I've been to? So one way was, I mean, what we decided to do in this case is we didn't try to mimic the forest, right? I mean, like, we honor it by distilling what makes it meaningful. You know, the silence, the balance, the hidden life, for example. There's so much life in a dead piece of wood, for example. Like, this is something that if we go to a primeval forest, if we see a dead piece of wood, we try to kind of make visible what is invisible in the forest, no? And times 10, because it's a place that is, whatever grows there is because it wants to grow there, not because someone puts it there to grow, no? So again, it was, how do you call it, a journey that went from flying like a Ural owl, habit scout, Ural owl, no? So you could actually feel that you were the owl, like we were studying how the owls are flying, and then we were simulating this flight with a drone that lost signal in the mountains, and we were flying it by intuition. So that was really a moment that I was sweating like never before. And also we talk about the examples later. I'm not good talking about myself as well, you know, like when I say we did this, we did that, you know, like I rather just talk one-on-one and explain, like share with you what I know. But so yeah, I mean, like the reality of this myth is that true connection grows when a story invites us to feel part of something larger than ourselves. Because then we said, okay, we dissect the experience of the forest. Okay, what makes a forest special, as I said, you know? So it's like, okay, the flight of the owl. We're not an owl. We can't see an owl like flying. So we bring this to our audience. We can't see what is in a dead piece of wood, inside the dead piece of wood. So we put the real piece of wood, we put a photographic representation of the wood, and then we bring it to augmented reality. We make a 3D representation, and then we give people a tablet and we say, explore. And so it's this convergence of media that you can see the real thing, you can see the pictures, and then you can go inside the 3D element and navigate and see what happens in a dead piece of wood. This is something that in the end our brain is quite smart, right? So we connect the dots between what we know about the forest and what we just learned about the forest, and we kind of see the value and we say, okay, we are not needed in the forest, really. I mean, like, we are not needed. I mean, like, if anything, you know, I mean, like, we need to be careful with nature, otherwise we're gone, you know? So this was a bit the intention behind this project, no? And we saw how much it was changing people's lives, you know? Like, we saw how, like, the respect they talked about the forest after they experienced the whole tour, let's say, no? I mean, of course, we are not talking about like changing someone's mind if they didn't care at all, right? But at least, like, we also gave people the argument to say, okay, care about the forest because of X, Y, Z. Did you know that there was so much life in a dead piece of wood? Did you know how much human intervention was affecting the landscape, for example, the fauna, the flora of the place? You could travel back and forth in time, and you could kind of overlay maps. Yeah, you could make some overlays of maps. Okay, these animals existed, you know, like back then. Humans were here in the timeline, and now slide to see what happens. No? And you could travel in time, and you see how everything disappears, and where, and when, and how fast. No? So putting things into perspective. That's the word that I was searching for. So, and this is my favorite, as I said many times. Like, I can do this in 15 minutes with ChatGPT for peanuts, all by myself, by the way. You know? I'm so tired of this myth. I don't know about you. But why do I despise it so much? You know? I mean, for me, it's like fuel unrealistic expectations from commissioners, undermines the work of serious teams who are building responsibly, ethically, with a vision, you know. And it's also, like from a creative perspective, it's also pressuring creatives to compete on speed and spectacle, you know, rather than depth and substance, you know. Because everything is out there. Our work is out there, these comments are out there, and everything is a big salad in the eyes of people who don't know like as much as we do, right? About what are the implications of technology. Like we talked about so many times about digital literacy, for example. Where are we in our knowledge of technology? We're still so long to go, right? There's so much to learn. There's so much to demystify in technology in order to use it meaningfully, in order to use it responsibly. And when you have someone that writes a LinkedIn post, you know, and it's like, I did this crap in 15 minutes, this is all you need, you know, it's a kick in the butt, you know? At least for me, I don't know, I'm curious about what you think about this, but it's like, I don't know, I mean, you have politicians, you know, like talking about how easy it is to bomb another country, you know, and this for me is the same thing, but in the creative industries, you know? It's like, don't oversimplify things, you know? I mean, you're affecting us all with your cool comments, you know? So I want to show you a counter narrative of this. This is a project that actually I released a week ago. And you can try it later on if you want. Okay, so this project is called Reality, and it's actually a conversation from the forest to urban dwellers. If the forest could talk, what would it say? No? So I'm trying to summarize how it is, but it's an AR experience that you can go to public spaces. For example, right now it's in Museumsquartier, it's in Schönbrunn, in Vienna. That you scan a QR code and then you see this patch of forest, and forest beings are inviting you to talk to them. So you have an old oak tree that is the matriarch of the forest, and then you have the squirrel that is a funny squirrel and is always like telling you jokes, you know? Like there's an ant colony, and they all have different personalities, and they all have a different role in nature. No? They all have a different specialty, and this is where this is where the behavioral system design that I was talking about before comes into play, because this is how to explain this. This is a moment that I saw how much we can change the game in a positive way using AI in creative industries. Because this was a project that involved 5 interactive characters. They're all living inside an AR experience that is also connected to a large language model, and we trained it ourselves with data from the Bundesforste, the Austrian federal forests, and Bundesministerium, I don't know, like the Ministry of Agriculture and Sustainable Forestry. I think it's called Sustainable Forestry. I'm trying to translate this because I can't say it in German. It's too long, the name, and I can't pronounce the whole thing. But it's, let's say, we have control of the data that was used to train these characters. You know? So this was a way that we could say, okay, we are relatively sure, no, but we are in a high percentage sure that the information that lives here is going to be reliable, that is going to be adapted to what we need in Austria, because it's only for like what initiatives are happening in Austria, and putting like what is Austria doing in terms of sustainability in comparison to the rest of the world. No? But At the same time, how do you use, and this is a question that I ask myself, no? Like, how do you use a highly energy demanding technology such as AI in a sustainability project, right? Because it's an important question to ask, right? I mean, we don't know the implications of AI. I mean, we don't know, but we don't know enough, let's say, to say, okay, these are the choices that I can do in order to be mindful about my consumption of AI, right? The same way that we know if a company is recycling or not, like we take care of, okay, this product that I consume is fair trade or not. Like, what is our benchmark when it comes to AI? I mean, there's still so much that we need to discuss and talk about, no? So since we were in the same situation when we got this project, we said, okay, let's do something. Let's incorporate it into the storytelling of the characters, the limitation, I mean, to limit the interactions that the user needs to have with this experience. So instead of just saying, okay, so 10 interactions is where we keep, let's say, a responsible, sustainable use of this technology, we actually gave the choice of the users through the characters saying after the 10th question, okay, you know what? Actually, we are a digital forest, and you're using energy from the planet to be able to ask these questions. So how about we take a break right now? You know? So storytelling plays also an important role in kind of, I wouldn't call it educating people, but in actually giving us the tools to extend the time that we have to kind of wait for these answers to come. Because, I don't know, I mean, I'm curious what you think, but the advancement of technology is not going anywhere. And prohibition has never kind of worked because we're like curious human beings, you know? So you have regulation and you have innovation, right? And the more something is prohibited, the more you're going to have people trying to kind of break the rules, right? So we somehow need to prepare for these scenarios and have a counter-narrative, right? So my choice to see this counter-narrative is, okay, embracing that this technology is going nowhere and kind of create these case studies that you say, I forgot to pass the slides. But this is what I said. This is the 15-minute design, and this is actually what takes 18 months to design. And this is something that I don't know if someone wants to like take a picture or watch it later because it's too long now to explain. But all this development is not actually all technological development. These are incorporating the ethical questions that we have about the project. And how can we incorporate these ethical questions not only for ourselves, and also for protecting the planet, but also to kind of encourage people to think about these questions while they're using the technology. And this is where character design and storytelling helps so much. And now with AI tools, we can actually have this dialogue, right, with the tool itself, no? It's like, how can I use you more mindfully, right? And asking like, what is the energy expenditure that I have if I do this or if I do that? You know, and having this conversation with the tool itself, I find it fascinating. So we don't have time for this, but I just wanted to say these are some of the things that we were incorporating in the experience when it comes to like proper knowledge transfer, let's say, and also the energy spend awareness. Here you can see an example of how the characters react when you have consumed enough. And also they're aware of the weather. So the characters also know what weather is at that particular moment. So they also talk about the weather. And so yeah, I don't know if I can say this, but I'm a person that curse a lot for fun. And I wanted to be able to have an experience that understood that, but actually banned people who were offending the characters. So moderation, fine-tuning moderation was an epic mission there as well. And also a custom sense of humor, because I don't live without jokes. So I was actually training the characters to be able to be funny. Like, I'm still working on jokes. Like, I'm teaching them how to do jokes, which is kind of cool as well. So anyway, we're running out of time, but I would just say it one more time. One dude with one prompt is not an amazing project. It's death. this is an example of the architecture of reality, for example. And it's not a prompt, it's not one dude, it's a multidisciplinary team that took 18 months to develop this experience. And all this is the brain of this little experience that you can talk with 5 characters in a patch of wood in the middle of the Museumsquartier. So I will skip this. By the way, there's an Easter egg. Like I put a mushroom that talks about defending the planet but expresses himself like Trump. It's quite funny to talk to him, like if you are curious about it. So wrapping up, final words and conclusions. I will summarize these points with just 3. That is, in my humble experience, I would like to pass on these learnings that I had, that is balance the wow and the why. You know, we all want to wow the people that look at our projects or the people that see our experiences, and we want them to enjoy it, and we also wanted to make it meaningful. But why do we want to do this, and why us, and why the way we do it? Because this is what makes our project unique. And first comes the heart and then the hardware. You know, technology is nothing if we don't put our hearts into it, if we don't make these big questions, if we don't challenge technology, if we don't challenge it in every single project that we do. And we need to keep doing that if we want to see technology reaching its full potential in a meaningful way. And last but not least, there is no such thing as risk-free innovation. Maybe one day, like, we will meet again and you will tell me, hey, Gabs, everything you said is bullshit now. And I hope it happens, you know, because that means that we learn better, you know? So that's a risk I'm willing to take, because I do want to see innovation moving forward. So anyway, last message. What if the problem isn't technology, as we started with, but how we talk about it? So let's talk about it this way. Let's design with care, let's create with purpose, and let's leave traces that matter. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabs.
I close.
No, I think that's such a nice slide.
This?
Yes.
Let's see
Who has questions? Otherwise, I will start with the question. So the one project that you were talking before, this one was the project about the wood, the old wood, and creating this immersive experience with the wood. And I would like to know if you think that it makes a difference if the XR project that you're working on is referring to a real space versus just some random narrative or story. Like, did you feel it made a difference that what you want to connect with your project is a real thing and people know that it's really there, just not physically for them, only in a VR experience?
If it's, you mean for reality, like for the patch of forest, or for the Lums am See
project?
Yeah, I
because
mean,
you could see it, and you didn't think, oh, that's a nice. Everything is invented in this wood, but you knew it was probably a scan, or it was built after a real problem, and this not problem, a project or thing, and it really exists in the real world.
Yeah. Okay. So how do I see the difference between, like, let's say the physical space and what immersive technologies like technology could offer, let's say, versus a real place? Of course, that, like, technology would never be able to replace the real thing ever. Like touching something, experiencing it through your own eyes. Like, this is something that, at least in my view, it will never be the same thing, right? But imagine, for example, space, right? I mean, most of us will never be able to go to space, right? And we watch documentaries about space, we learn about space, and we, you know, like, we try to get to like as close as possible to space. And sometimes we play video games and we fantasize about being in space, you know? So I think it will never replace a real thing. But at the same time, we can create this connection, this emotional connection with the topic, you know? Like, for example, in the case of Lumsam Se, there was, as I said, we wanted to highlight the invisible, no? To bring this wonder of nature, no? That sometimes we take for granted. Like, that, how do animals react when we are in the forest, for example, no? Like, there's an entrance installation that if you approach the animals that you see in the LED wall, like they react to your movement. Like if you are too loud in your sound, no? So if you are too loud, then they run away, and each of them run away in a different way because the fox doesn't run the same from you as the owl or the deer, or, you know. So this was very interesting to learn as well, no? So this is what we wanted to transmit, no? And it's like as if we dissected every aspect of what makes the forest, and we kind of invited people to mindfully think about this one aspect at a time, no? I don't know if I answer your question, because sometimes I go too much into it.
Well, I think
around.
I asked it.
Otherwise, you can keep asking. It's fine.
No, I just thought if people have this experience that they are looking at something that exists really versus some random game world where the place does not exist in reality.
It depends. It depends. Like, my honest answer is it depends. Like, for example, when we, one of the experiences is a multisensory cinema that we created. Like, it was a 3.5-minute meditation moment in the forest. No? So you could wear a VR headset and you could feel the heat of the sun. You could smell the trees. And you could have this, let's say, approximated experience of how it would feel like to be there in this forest. I mean, like, the footage was from this place. I mean, everything was based on the real place, no? I mean, it wasn't like we went to another forest and we kind of like translated that and tried to make it work, no? And I'm trying to summarize it a bit. But let's say that people gain the understanding of what happens there, you know, but at the same time, it's not something that is going to be 1-1 ever, you know? Like, I don't think so. As for today, at least, unless we get a neural implant one day that can make us, you know, like feel in our own skin what it feels like to be there, I don't think we're there. But I think with immersive technologies is like the most approximated way we could achieve that, in my view.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the talk. I have slightly provocative question.
Please, provoke all you want, I love it.
No, it's just slightly, really. Because I think there is this challenge, I suppose, when we talk about non-human entities.
Yeah.
Ecosystems and things that are rather complex. To always somehow anthropomorphize them. Give them names, give them some sort of voice that, is this really their voice? Is this really their name? I mean, it's a squirrel. It's so interesting. I'm fascinated by animals and by all diversity of biology and the biological world and flora and fauna, but I think this kind of taking this world that we know, I guess some part of it, we understand, like scientists, but still we're trying to kind of make it more human and not kind of see beyond that. I understand communication is fundamental in that sense, and there are other motivation there. But what do you think? Is it possible to approach it in a different way? Like to go closer to them and not take them closer to us?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we are in one ecosystem. So
no, absolutely. And I love your question, because actually one of my fantasy projects, let's say, like if I can get someone that pays for this, you know, like I would be the happiest person alive, because it goes along these lines, you know, like what would happen if we have, let's say, an experience that your goal is to communicate with another living being, you know, and you could be, let's say, a fox, no? But you can't communicate as a human through the fox, but you have to understand how fox communicate in order to communicate with another fox, for example, you know? So you have to understand like how fox move, or what kind of, you know, like what kind of things they do in order to communicate, you know? But like for me, the biggest challenge right now is to kind of help commissioners of these projects understand the value of kind of, you know, like growing in complexity when it comes to this kind of knowledge, you know. I mean, still, at least in my experience, it was seen like, okay, how can we, there's a good and bad side of this, in my view, no? Like, the good thing is that they still have the wish, let's say, to communicate these things, you know, even though it's anthropomorphized, you know, but still, you know, there's interest in kind of finding a way that people can consume this information and not just abandon it altogether, you know. But at the same time, in my view, there could be a lot more things done in order to kind of respect nature as nature and not because we see more human in nature that we respect it, no? But it's a bit like picking up people from where they're at and kind of try progressively to help them understand more and more complexity. You know?
Of course, but then what would you say on the axis between art, infotainment, marketing and advertisement, like commercial digital art projects that, very often are, how to say, structured through agencies, so they have dramatically different concept and are being structured very different than an artist would structure a project, but still finding this sweet spot. I guess this is the biggest challenge. Where would you position your work with the things that you showed us?
I will position my work more towards the artistic side than the marketing side, like as for me, no? And this is exactly what I communicate to my clients as well, you know? I mean, from one side, I need to be aware that this is a commercial project, you know, that they need to fulfill their goals. But at the same time, I tell them, like, okay, we are doing something that is for the betterment of humanity, or we're not taking the project, you know? Yeah. Like, this is like I don't know if I answer your question, you know? I lost clients because of this as well, because they're like, no, your objective should be talking about me and talking about how good I am and talking about, you know?
I mean, I totally understand. I mean, it is a challenge to hack the situation, to actually trick them to do something that they might value after some time. That's another story. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. Somebody.
And you can totally challenge me, you know, like for me it's fine, you know, if you tell me, Gaps, you're nuts, you know, I mean, like what you tell me doesn't make any sense, you know, I mean, you're here putting, makeup on top of a horrible thing, you know, you can also tell me.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so please ask this.
It's only very, very general, maybe just a definition question. What is creative AI? Because you say more this like term and what it.
For me, creative AI is to use artificial intelligence for the creative process of conceiving something, so like
it's not
an
kind of
image,
AI. It's you using AI in a creative way.
It's let's say not using it for productivity or for optimization of things, you know, like, but it's more using it for brainstorming, using it for image generation, using it for, you know, like, this is what I mean by creative AI. It's like creative AI would be like creative tools, let's say. I mean, using AI as a creative tool to accomplish my creative goals, no? As an aid, as an enhancement, no? Not as a replacement, but as an enhancement. And because the tools are more specialized when it comes to creative AI, you know, the same way that they're specialized if you use AI for the purpose of HR, for example, or if you use AI for in the context of productivity or training, for example, no? Like the goals are different, so the tools are different, and the tools also get fine-tuned depending on how you need to use them, you know? So this is why, like, if we are thinking about, again, the example of home improvement, you know, like, let's say, like, my mission in building this house is to find the best way or the most, like, the prettiest way and the most efficient way to make the interior design, you know? And maybe a productivity, like AI in productivity would be, okay, let's see where the sun is coming from to build the terrace in the right position and making it in the, you know? I mean, like, I think each of these AI tools have like their home improvement aspect, let's say, in the big project of building the house. So creative AI is a term that I use for these kind of tools, yeah.
Thank you very much. Time is run out. So thank you, Gabs. thank you for joining us, and hopefully see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for having me.